Welcome to another episode of Stable School Podcast. I'm here with Peter from Circle. Peter, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Circle.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here. So my name's Peter Schroeder. I work on global marketing at Circle. And a little bit about Circle, we're the creator of USDC and EURC, the largest regulated stablecoins in the world. And we've been working on those two projects for the last 7 years, since 2018 when they launched. And these last few years have been super exciting, seeing the growth of USDC across different ecosystems and the explosion of digital dollars around the world and everything that comes with that. So excited to be here talking to you today.
Yeah, we were just talking about it. I love the reference of digital dollar, and we'll dive into adoption a little bit. Generally speaking, what steps is Circle taking for global adoption of stablecoin, specifically of the USDC?
Yeah, there's a big demand for dollars around the world from a lot of different perspectives, whether you're talking about people using digital dollars, whether you're talking about institutions, businesses. There's a lot of different use cases. And so if you think about physical money and physical dollar bills, 80% of $100 bills are held outside of the US. 50% of all physical currency, US dollars, is held outside of the US. And so if you think about that around the world, people use dollars for a lot of different things. If you think about people in different markets who deal with high inflation or they deal with corruption in their local government, they want to hold dollars. And historically, people have done that in physical form, storing money under their mattress. But USDC for people in a lot of different ways represents a better, safer, more efficient way for them to access their dollars today. And we're really focused on all the people now that around the world that want to save in digital dollars like USDC. How do they actually utilize those digital dollars for everyday life? And so before, maybe you had to store your money under your mattress. Now today it can be on your phone. You can send it, you can spend it, you can save it, you can do all these different things with it. And I think that there's a lot of efficiencies that come with that for people, for businesses and institutions to have 24/7, 365 money that can move around the world in a fraction of a second for a fraction of a cent. That hasn't existed before. And I think a lot of institutions and businesses are still wrapping their head around, what does this mean? What can I do with this? What use cases have never been thought about before? Does this technology enable? I can't even think about all of the things that can be built on top of programmable money that does all of those things. I think that within the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be things built with money that we've never thought about before that just makes money, and I say this a little bit frankly, but it makes money work. You don't have to wait days for it to settle. You don't have to pay exorbitant fees to get it to loved ones across the world. If money just works, if it just moves like a text or an email, and it works for everybody, and it makes, the economy more accessible and inclusive, there's so much good that can come from that.
I love what you're saying. I think that, both of my parents are from different parts of the world. And they're both grew up with a lot of volatility in currency. And to be quite frank, what you're saying, 100% can relate to that. Holding physical dollars was just a way to preserve wealth. But you said one thing which I want to tap into, which is very interesting, is that is the ability that it goes cross-border so efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
For me is like mind-blowing. I actually studied in the UK, and even money from the Netherlands to the UK, it has to be wired, and it goes from the euro to pound sterling.
Mm-hmm.
It was just annoying, and it wasn't even that bad as opposed to sending money back home. Like if you go to another continent to a volatile currency like wire transfer, that actually involves phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, genuinely speaking, it's mind blowing. And the question I have for you is, why are more people not using this?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. My lens is somewhat biased towards America because I live in the United States, and frankly, in the United States, money works for the most part, especially if you don't have people outside of the US. But 1 in 10 Americans send money cross borders at least once a year. And so it's a really big deal, and it impacts a lot of people. And so I feel like with those people that really understand the problem, they're starting to come around to it. I think there's early adoption amongst people, and I think it's actually compounding and growing pretty quickly. I've seen, U.S. to Mexico is the biggest remittance corridor. It's about $63 billion a year of remittances from the U.S. And stablecoins is taking a good chunk of that. I haven't seen the best data on it, but I've seen numbers that go anywhere from 5 to 10% of those remittances are now happening within stablecoins. And if that's the case, and I think that the companies that are doing cross-border payments and remittances, they're paying attention. We have a big partnership with Tunes that we've been talking more about recently. They're a big money movement company. And so they're enabling a lot of back-end settlements, especially with cross-border payments and remittances. And so how do you take some of these companies and take care of it on the back end and kind of abstract the complexities? And how do you make it easier for the users? I think that there's a lot of really exciting companies coming out that are fintech apps that are starting to get adoption. But how do we also get all of the large global players and fintechs to be thinking about this, which I think they are. I think, every fintech in the world is at least asking the question, how do we use stablecoins and how can we benefit from stablecoins and how does this fit into our product strategy? And I think we've seen more of that over the last year than we've ever seen before. And I think we'll continue to see that trend.
I guess like maybe to specify the question a little bit, like, not to go like off script, but like I can imagine Circle being such a big push for like the digital, like the USDC, like it has enabled a lot of businesses. It has enabled like individuals. And so I can also imagine when you're looking at this entire landscape, right? Like there's so much you can do. There's so many roles that you can play, from infrastructure where you're like, okay, cool. Am I gonna provide a dev kit, right?
Yeah.
Or are you gonna provide payment APIs where like you integrate them? Like how do you prioritize that focus is the thing? Or even like in the L2 world, right? So many L2s right now. It's like, which ecosystem, like, are you going to focus on? Just a little bit like tapping into your brains is like, how do you make that prioritization?
Yeah, I think with stablecoins, it's really an upgrade to the current financial system. And so how do we enable that across every company and every person around the world to be able to use stablecoins? Like, I don't think we can do that at Circle, but what we can do is we can create an ecosystem, we can create a network, we can enable other companies to build with Circle and build on top of Circle and build USDC into their product. And so the easier that we can make it for individuals to access USDC, the easier we can make it for developers to build with USDC, and the easier we can make it for businesses to use USDC and integrate this into all different types of workflows in their business where money touches today. I think that that's the role that we play. And that could be through doing some of this stuff ourselves, or it could be enabling developers to build it, partnering with other organizations to be able to offer it that already do some of these things. And so it's very much a play where, we could be partners with anyone who touches money. And I think that we kind of take that neutral approach where we just want stablecoins to really improve any inefficiencies in the monetary system where you might deal with multi-day settlement, exorbitant fees, these things that stablecoins just abstract away. That's where we want to, layer them on and help them improve everything.
Yeah, definitely. From the outside, what I see as well is that Circle has a very much like a connecting factor, like a connecting role. I see a lot of events where I see merchants showing up, like small payment startups, and they're all invited and they want to go to the Circle event, and Circle just being a connector there. I think that's very like a positive influence, I would say, like in the adoption of stablecoin.
Yeah, I see us as a connector. I see USDC as a bridge in a lot of ways too. Like Circle and USDC in a lot of ways bridge traditional finance to DeFi and to a lot of different crypto aspects. And so, Nubank, one of our big partners, said something recently. They said within their Nubank crypto app, 70% of their users' first transaction in crypto was with USDC. They're buying USDC. And so, that's great from one aspect. And now people have USDC. What are they going to do with it? How do we help show people, hey, you can send this to anyone for a fraction of a cent instantly? How do we show people, okay, if you want to trade this or go into DeFi and earn yield or do any of these other things, like there's so much more that your dollar and your money can do. Like if you think about stablecoins and USDC, especially in a lot of these emerging markets, it's a killer use case all on its own to just be able to hold dollars. Imagine being able to hold dollars and easily have access to DeFi, which I think we need to make easier for people. It just becomes something that's really changes people's lives and helps really improve the way that they look at money and finance.
Yeah, 100%. So, you're in charge of global marketing. When you look at, the two big buckets of, like, let's say audiences, institutional clients and retail, obviously, in marketing, you cater towards your target audience. How do you like reach those audiences? So how do you market to these two buckets? And how do you get them to use, stablecoins?
Yeah, I think you can look at it by audience and you can look at it by geography too, because we've talked a lot about the emerging market use case for USDC. Very different than in developed markets in the US and Singapore and some of these other countries and Hong Kong, where they don't have those same problems. They have a stable currency. But USDC can still benefit them because we're so plugged into the crypto ecosystem. If you're trading in crypto, using USDC pairs, being able to use USDC for DeFi, there's still a lot of utility for USDC in different places. So you can look at it by region. And then you can also break it down by audience too. And there's a lot of different audiences you can think about, but at least I kind of think about it. People who use USDC, developers who want to build with USDC, and then businesses who want to use USDC, which you could also kind of call institutions as well. And each one of those too uses USDC and works with Circle from different perspectives. So it's a lot to think about. It's a lot of like tailoring messaging, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring everyone to this party. We're trying to get everyone to benefit from stable coins and digital dollars. And to do that, we have to talk to people directly, whether they fit in this geography or this audience segment, and just tell them why. Because and I don't even think that's enough. Like, telling people why this is better isn't the only way to get them. We have to tell them why. We have to show them why. We have to show them stories. We have to give them proof points. We have to show them validation. And hopefully this is actually kind of what starts like the network effect of USDC. Hopefully one of their friends tells them about it. Hey, I send money to Mexico every week back to my family. Like, I used to pay X amount using this other service. Now I use USDC to send it to them. It's the easiest thing I've ever used. If that can happen and, people start telling people, and it's this sort of flywheel effect, because it just works better. Like, I think that's what we're seeing a lot of, and that'll just continue to compound and scale.
I couldn't agree more. I think that one of the marketers that I really like, Alex Hormozi, he basically says what you say is like word of mouth is still the most powerful tool, but like you have to invoke a feeling. You have to deliver real value. And if I think about myself, right? When do I like a post or even quote tweet? It's because like it has invoked such a strong feeling that I feel the need to spend time.
Yeah.
And it's same with products. I feel the need to tell my family, being like, yo, you need to like download this app right now, you know, stablecoin. Like, I think the partnerships that UCC has done for the yield, for instance, like, it's phenomenal. Like, it's like, hey, you need to hold this. You guys created a brand and trust around it. And so it's something that I feel comfortable recommending. So I'm working for UCC without UCC. So I think the word of mouth is very, very powerful, and definitely like, but that only comes when you deliver value.
Yeah. And I think the message can be simplified too. And so, like I said, really focusing on where we're talking to people, how we're talking to them, and who we're talking to them. It's a really challenging thing to talk to so many different audiences and regions, but it's also a luxury and a benefit that anyone in the world can benefit from this technology. Billions of people that we have the potential to impact and just make money work better for them. That's also really exciting.
Yeah, I can imagine. So what are like the big initiatives that you're excited about 2025 for Circle? I know we spoke a little bit about developers, retail, institution. Like, I can imagine like different ways and about like what excites you?
Yeah, I think it's just the continued traction. Like I said a little bit earlier, USDC was launched in 2018. And in just 6 to 7 short years, just how far this technology has come and how much traction it's getting. I think that's the most exciting part for me. I heard a stat today that stablecoins in aggregate, the supply surpassed 1% of the M2 money supply, which for a lot of people that won't make a lot of sense, but it just goes to show that more money is moving digital versus physical. More money is rolling into stablecoins, and it's just a lot of validation that that's like a metric we can track now. Like, and so the more that I hear about Fortune 500s or big banks or anyone start to talk about stablecoins, listening to the guys on the All In podcast talk about stablecoins, hearing Joe Rogan talk about stablecoins last week, it's insane to me that, we've built a technology that's gotten to the place that some of the most famous people in the world and most popular people in the world and most respected people in the world are beginning to recognize this technology. And it's even fascinating to them that they want to talk about it and they want to tell people about all the different things that it can do. And so that's what I'm excited about, is just to see us really build on this momentum and continue to advocate for stablecoins and see adoption around the world.
I definitely think we're on the brink of mass adoption. I think that it's here. Like, as in, like, this is like a defining moment almost.
Yeah, we're not to the point where you can go out on the street and stop people and be like, hey, what's a stablecoin? Yeah. But I'd be really excited if we can get there. And again, wording's important. Maybe stablecoin's not the right word. Maybe digital dollars what they know. Maybe USDC is what they know. Like, I think we still need to crack the code with like what onboards the next wave of users to the point where you can stop anyone on the street and they can be like, oh, I know that, or I use that in this product that I have, whether it's like, the new Venmo or it's within Venmo that they use, or Cash App, or just people on the street recognize what the technology is and it's benefiting them in some way.
Yeah, 100%. I do think that I definitely don't think we're there yet, but I think we'll get there. And that's such a I think an issue to solve. But it's not an issue to solve. In Web3, we have our jargon and our lingos that definitely communicating well enough outside to puncture outside of a bubble is a thing. Just to wrap up, like, what are your thoughts? What are the big disruptive things you see in 2025 or you hope for to happen? I mean, maybe it's just like nothing, but anything you see for 2025, and like, I'm excited for that, or anything that's disruptive you see on the horizon.
Yeah, I think about money as the biggest market in the world, and it is in a few in a few different ways. Cross-border remittances is one of the biggest markets in the world. Foreign exchange is one of the biggest markets in the world. Just all these things that have to do with money. And so if you look at these big use cases where billions to trillions of dollars of money is moving every day, what excites me is just tracking some of these markets, seeing how stablecoins is used, seeing how stablecoins is taking a percentage of these flows, and just continuing to see adoption. And so I think the one that I'm watching really closely this year is remittances, and how much value capture in remittances does stablecoin sort of take this year. And then the other big one is payments. I think payments has so much opportunity, and I don't think we've necessarily cracked the code, but just within the last couple of weeks, there's been several stablecoin card launches that help make payments easier. And I think that it's something that has been talked about for a while. I think there's really early traction, and I'd really love to see a lot of progress in stablecoin payments this year from a consumer, but also a B2B perspective too, where there's also lots of problems. And so those will be the two big things I'll be tracking.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that even as Pro, we've identified PayFi as like a vertical to focus on. Eatify Cash launched on us, and the excitement around it is pretty huge. To the point that, where KYC is not the most favored, let's say, process for crypto people, they're actually going through it. So there's definitely like a culture change around it as well. Couldn't agree more. Peter, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate your insights and excited for what Circle will bring in 2025.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, Peter.